Today I welcome you to this special ceremony. We come together for the unveiling of this beautiful monument. This is a moving tribute to the shishalh survivors of the residential school and other survivors throughout Canada. The school was established on this very section of land in 1904. My story begins when I was only 6 years old. 1946. I was removed from my home, my family. As Aboriginal, Indigenous, First Nations people, we suffered. Sir John A. Macdonald, the first Prime Minister of Canada, said, and I quote, "I think we must, by slow degrees, educate generation after generation until the nature of the animal almost is changed by the nature of the surroundings. Kill the Indian in the child. The residential school has cast a long shadow over our community. The residential school is one of the worst racist institutions created by the federal government, and it goes hand in hand with all the religious denominations that help run and operate those schools. Cultural genocide. Remember that, cultural genocide."
Taking our culture away, removing our language, teaching us a new way of life and Christianity, and taking away our art, our culture, the way we dressed, the way we walked. All those things were taken away from our people. So they were trying to erase not only a culture of our people, but a way of life.
For the next part of our ceremony, we're going to call forward 4 of our speakers from the Shishalh Nation, 4 survivors of the residential school. This is really the first time they've shared their story, so we truly are in the middle of our healing process, and you're here with us, and we thank you.
I was in here for 10 years. And I witnessed and was a victim myself in all the abuses. The most significant one, which a lot of our First Nations people went through, was the sexual abuse.
On the very first week I was told I was a sinner. I had no idea what that meant. During my 8 years, that was repeated and repeated to me, like brainwashing me. I was a sinner. The worst day of my life was when I was about 10 years old. We watched the kids all weekend, and we were late for school that Monday morning. As I knocked on the door, the priest answered. Then he dragged me inside his office and screamed at me. He screamed obscenities, called me a lazy savage, and told me I was not as important as his dog. Why was I even born? Because God did not love me. Then he raped me. The pain was so excruciating. I didn't understand what was happening. It terrified me to my core. After he finished, he let me go with a warning that this would happen again if I made one mistake. This devious act happened to everyone, not only me, to all our people. We were children. They could do anything to us.
We are supposed to be the children of God. Supposed to be, that's what they told us. We're the children of God. They're there to look after us. But they did this to us. I hated the church. I hated the Catholics. I hated the priests. I hated the nuns. For the longest time. Maybe there's some Catholics here, I'm sorry. But now I have forgiven them. After all these years, I started to forgive them.
I blame so many for what happened to me, but most of all, I must forgive myself. It was not our fault. Everybody who went to residential school, it was not your fault.
I am a survivor, and I can only move forward. The healing journey is going to carry on for all our people across Canada.
We have come full circle with this memorial, but there's been a lot of tears and a lot of hurt going through this 100 years. They say it's going to take 7 generations to get this out of us, you know, and this monument, by the time I'm gone from this world, will be still standing here, and they will have the stories, and the main story is that this will never happen to our people again.
I want to thank our survivors for their stories today, because each and every survivor has a story to tell. And you got a sample of what our people had to endure in order to get here to where we are today. And you see the rain, it's the tears of our ancestors today, because they had to go through so much for us to stand here today. But we're moving forward, but it's with the help of all of our communities that's the only way reconciliation is going to happen.
The true history of residential schools, what residential schools did to our people, had to be told and written in our history books. So this will never happen again to anyone.